Drill, application engineer with Hilco Incorporated, and I'm here with a third session on how to get started with Codesys 3.5. So I have opened up here Codesys, and if you watch my previous video, you saw how to get your device tree set up and how to get your software set up. So I'm going to dive right in. So I've included into my project a Turk TBN 8DXP module. It's the S2 size. So my standard IO points are going to be right here. So if I go to my basic and then go to my module IO mapping, now I have all my inputs and all my outputs. So in my case, I'm just going to start out with giving this an alias of input 1, and just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple. And then I'm going to drop down here and add a couple of outputs. Now notice where I put my output. I added it so my first two spaces are being used for inputs. So I'm going to skip down 2 spaces and I'm going to add a couple of outputs. Now, so I have some real easy aliases set up now, so I have some bits that I can use in my programming. Now, another thing I want you to see here, see right here where it says diagnostics. If I right click on this and I plug device like I've done before, now I can pull in my diagnostics bits into my program. So I can open this up and I can address these just like I could, just like I can use standard IO points. I can look at my IO, my overcurrent, and I can look at my current for the outputs for both the inputs and the outputs. So I have the ability here to use these diagnostic bits in my program, just like I would if I was using just like a regular bit address. I just wanted to show you that real quick. So I'm going to go back to my PLC program, and I've set this up for ladder logic. So now I just want to start developing a basic program. So I'm going to get on my first run and I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a contact. So I can right click and insert a contact. The other option that I have is over on this right hand side in my toolbox menu. If I wanted to add a contact, I could simply click on it and drag and drop. It's the same difference. It's entirely up to you and how you prefer to program. You can drag and drop or you can right click. It doesn't matter. So now I want to add a coil. So I'm going to drag and drop my coil, and notice when this box turns green, I can drop it. Now I'm just going to delete this real quick because I just want to add one contact. Now if I highlight my question marks, I get a lookup box. So if I pull my lookup box in, now I can look at my IO globals, my global IOs in the mapping, and I can expand that, and there's my alias of input 1. Same thing here. I can do a lookup box. I can look at my globals, and I can map that over. So get the idea at least how to manipulate getting my aliases in, my global variables, and some bits. So from there, obviously that's a very simple thing. The next thing that most people want to know is how do I add a timer? So I'm going to go to my function blocks. I'm going to add an on delay timer, and I'm going to drag that into my application. Now I get to do a couple of things here. First of all, since a timer is local, it's not a global, it's something that's only used in my program, I get the ability to change the name here, so I can name it whatever I want, or I can just leave it alone and click outside the box, and I can auto declare that as a on delay timer and just let it stay as TON_0. So I've got my on delay timer. The next thing I've got to set is my preset time. PT is my preset time. Anything on the left hand side as you're facing does have to be addressed. Now, this is how I would set my preset time. I would do T for time, £, which means that I'm going to add this time to my device, and I want to add something like 500 milliseconds. Now, I can add 500 seconds, I could add 500 minutes, 500 hours, all those, any increment of time I can add to my project. Now, this is my elapsed timer, ET. This would be a value if you wanted to monitor that timer. You have the ability of giving that a name, or you can simply backspace and say, yeah, I'm not going to use it that way. I'm going to get rid of my question marks. So now I have a system, a little quick program where I would get a discrete in, I'd time it for 500 milliseconds, and then turn on my output. Now I can check this real quick with the build menu. So I can go to build and I can build. And it's going to tell me, do you have any errors? Do you not have any errors? In my case, I do not. I've got 0 errors. So I can go forward in writing my project. If I want to add a new rung, it's actually called a network. So I want to insert a network below. And this time I'm going to do something a little more controls. So I'm going to insert an empty box with enable and enable out. That's what that means. I'm going to drop that in, and it's just an empty box. And in my case, maybe I want to do something like I want to do a multiply. So I'm going to multiply. Now, generally, they drop this bit. If you don't want it, just take it out. So you can just simply delete. In my case, I actually want to multiply my elapsed time by something. So I'm going to start typing in TON underscore 0 dot. So when I put that dot in, I've got these options. So I'm going to put my TON 0 elapsed time, and I'm just going to multiply it by 10 for no apparent reason, but just to show you how to use a multiply box. Now I want to address a local variable because I'm only going to use this value in my program. So when I highlight my question marks, I can just start typing in a name, and I can call it ton 0 multiplied, whatever. So now I've put a name, I've got a value type of time, and I can say, okay, now I have a variable, a local variable, because I addressed it in my program. And here's my local variable declare list up here. So now I can start moving forward with some projects. So that's just a couple of simple rungs where I addressed I put an alias on my global inputs and outputs. We've quickly moved through how to do a little bit of programming by both right-clicking or drag and drop technology. Either one works, but again, some very basic program to get started with Codesys 3.5. Thank you for your time. Hope you have a great day.